a weird place because you are like the first week or so you're not even really wearing your own clothes. This wasn't my own uniform. It's just weird. But anyway, when they take your picture, this jacket has a slit in the back and they just drape it over you and you take the picture. So I don't even know what I'm talking about that. The picture's a little misleading, but I was 20 in that picture, and my husband and his mom, he was, actually my husband enlisted when he was 17, so he's 17 or 18 in that picture.
Ready? I have a question. What?
Let's see.
That?
I don't really want to talk a whole lot about my service in the Navy because it wasn't fascinating and it wasn't applicable to World War II or probably anything you guys are familiar with. But I studied to be a nuclear electrician, and my husband is also a nuclear electrician. So where I was slated to serve on aircraft carriers because women were not allowed in the submarine service at the time, my husband could have served aircraft carrier or submarine. He went submarines. However, females, women are allowed in combat now, and women are allowed on submarines now. So if you like what you hear about submarines, there's literally nothing stopping you from serving. It's called the silent service. That's what submarines are known as. The only things you need are really good ASVAB scores, and you need to test very well in English,
I have a question.
English, composition, reading comprehension, and math. If you want to join the Navy, math is extremely important. And it's probably for all the branches, but so yeah, here is the submarine my husband served on. This is actually, I'll start with this one. He served on a couple of different submarines, but this is the most fascinating one. This is the newest submarine that's available. It's the Virginia class. I'm not even sure what the class was in World War II, but have you guys seen pictures of submarines and they have like little tails out on either side of this thing?
Yeah.
They don't make that like that anymore. It's noisy in the water. And the whole point of the submarine service is that it's the silent service, because no one is supposed to be able to find you when you're in a submarine. No one's supposed to be able to hear you. The only time you're detectable at all is when you're surface or just below the surface. And also when you release your payload, which is weapons. ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. But this is the USS Texas. Why does that sound familiar?
Because it was made in Texas.
It was commissioned in Texas, yes. It was actually made in Newport News, Virginia. And I have lived both places. But yes, its namesake is after the state of Texas. There were 2 or 3 other Navy vessels with that namesake. This is the only one still in operation now, and it's brand spanking new. And it's really amazing. I can answer questions about that if you guys have questions about that.
I do.
Oh, this picture here this is called the sail, this structure right here, and all this does is house the periscope, the communications equipment, navigation equipment,
Weapons?
and this, no, weapons are inside. This is just for like I said, knowing where you're going, looking around, talking with the shore or other Navy vessels. These things sink down into here, so when the submarine dives, this is all that's left that you see. Thank you.
That's actually really cool.
It is really cool, and this little bit, you guys can see if you look really closely, there's 2 people up there. And that's the captain, usually. Sometimes the officer on duty. And that's it. So captain is an officer, the officer on duty is an officer. And also one enlisted person. submarines, the telephone talker. They're very tiny, just boop, right at that very top. And then there's a ladder that goes down, and there's no elevators or stairs on a submarine. It's all ladders. Yes.
How big is the submarine?
There are different sizes of submarines, and I don't know a whole lot of like member specs. I didn't.
No, the question.
I wasn't really interested
Well
in
then,
a
wait
whole lot
for
of trivia
later,
at the
okay,
time
when
it
she's
was
done.
applicable. So this picture, sorry, that's why I wanted. Okay. This picture is the enlisted person, the sound talker, snapped this photo out in the middle of the ocean when they surfaced. And so this is a view of the front of the boat going through the water slowly. So it's actually a pretty unique picture because we weren't supposed to be taking pictures. So, all right, I'm going to talk about. No. Okay. Do you guys know who Winston Churchill is?
No.
He was the Prime Minister of Britain during World War II. And he led Britain to a few different victories. I want to get it exactly right. There's a quote I have from him, which is pretty inspiring about submariners. And so it depends on who you talk to. Some people call submariners submariners, but that's not really okay.
It sounds weird.
It sounds like you're saying they're less than mariners. So it's submariner, even though when you look at it in, anyway. Of all the branches of men in the forces, there is none which shows more devotion and faces grimmer perils than the submariners. And that was Sir Winston Churchill who said that. Does anyone know why? Can anyone guess why being on a submarine would be the most terrifying thing?
Because if there's a leak, you die. There's no weapons to defend yourself if anyone discovers you, and if oxygen goes goodbye, you're dead.
Yes.
You might sink.
Yes.
If you accidentally go too far down the pressure limit, it can collapse.
That's a very real problem. Yes.
Just sometimes when you're on a submarine, it's really scary to see the deep water.
That's a very interesting point. Here's a fun fact. My husband, Bo, when he volunteered for the submarine service, he chose submarines because he chose the Navy, but at the time he was afraid of large bodies of water. So he chose submarines because he would never have to look at the water. And so, yeah. Did you have something to say? Roll down.
If there was any survivors, they would probably eat, and they had like a cut on them, they'd probably be eaten right away by like great white sharks or maybe 6-billed sharks.
Incorrect. If the worst thing happens and the submarine sinks all the way to the ocean floor in a deep part of the ocean, right? It's not possible to rescue those sailors.
Well, what if it was like,
What if they raise
only
that
beneath
Roll down.
the surface, but then almost up there?
So there are
And
different.
So then it
There.
cracked in half.
Okay. There are different depths to different parts of the ocean, and I can't tell you how deep a submarine can dive because A, that's classified, and B, I don't know because my husband couldn't tell me because it was classified. But in some depths, a submarine rescue is possible. They do have vessels that are specifically designed for submarine rescue. But if the submarine, it's I don't know why. Okay. This is not the best picture, but do you see how this is just a long tube? It's at an angle. You're looking at it like this, but the submarine is just a tube. It looks like an oxygen tank under the water, right? And then it just has this one sail coming up. So the pilots in the submarine, they have to maintain the appropriate balance of it's called ballast tanks, but they have to keep it balanced so it's not like if this is the sail, they have to try very hard to make sure it's not doing this under the water. So if all the power shuts down under the ocean and they can't control the submarine doing this, then if the submarine hits, the bottom, right, it's gonna just whatever, right? And the rescue vessels can't lock onto the hatches if it's like this. So, and as of right now, there's no technology that I know of to fix that. Okay, so anyway, I got off topic, but I wanted to talk about the Texas specifically because we live in Texas and it's pretty cool. But so all the submarines that are in service right now are nuclear submarines, and that means that when they go under the water, they never have to come back up. They will operate forever, roughly, right? So submarines create their own drinking water. They create their own oxygen. The only thing a submarine has to surface for is communication and food, because there are people on board, right?
I said food too.
Roll down.
Okay. Why was I talking about this? Oh, one more thing. Submarines are super cool, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So, when a submarine pulls into port, so do you guys know what nuclear reactors are? Okay. When a submarine pulls into port, that reactor's still reacting. You can't stop a nuclear reaction once it starts. So, and this was the job I trained for, and this is my husband's job. They have to control that reaction because, have you guys ever heard of 3 Mile Island?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was a horrible nuclear accident that, you know, did a lot of bad things.
Did
But
it go up?
yeah, and it killed like everything in the vicinity. But the United States Nuclear Navy has never had an accident, ever. So it's a pretty good track record. And if you're on a submarine, you will actually be exposed to less radiation than you would be just walking around living your daily life. Because the sun and our dirt, because the dirt reflects radiation from the sun, expose us to more radiation than you would be exposed to on a submarine. So with, radiation, submarines are fairly safe because we do our jobs. Okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. This is the Blue Jackets manual. When you get into boot camp, everything you will need to know is in this book. And the Navy boot camp is a lot different from the Marines boot camp because it's a lot of brain work. And probably more so with the Air Force. But you learn about Navy history, you learn about water safety. Raise your hand if you're in ASL class or if you know a second language. Cool. So the Navy has like 4 different languages that we speak. Everyone in the military is exposed to Morse code. Raise your hand if you know what Morse code is. It's dots and dashes. They coordinate with letters of the alphabet, right? Everyone in the military isn't required to know Morse code, but it's cool if you do know it. Also, everyone in the military and everyone in their own branch has their own, it's not like a different language, but we have our own vocabulary that we speak. It's a lot of abbreviations and a lot of different words for stuff. So like if you go drink at the water fountain, that's not a water fountain, it's a scuttlebutt.
Oh.
And a scuttle, huh? Yes. A wall is not a wall, it's a bulkhead. That's all I can think of right now. But there's more, and you just use them. You pick them up from context and you use them. But other languages that we speak, this is called semaphore. And semaphore is like Morse code. It coordinates with the different letters of the alphabet. But like if you can't feel or if you can't see, because with a flashing light you can do Morse code, right? So if you can't see that, or if you can't hear it, and all you can do is see from a distance, you can do just like your arms, right? Or flags. They ideally do it with flags. And then so if 2 ships are at sea and you have binoculars, you can see each other and you can communicate if you have no other means of communicating. So it's pretty cool. So if you're trying to, do your ASL with somebody and they're too far away, right? You could spell it out with semaphore, which is fascinating. Very cool. I don't know semaphore, but I would like to learn it. It's pretty good. That wasn't my rate. There are some rates that are, a rate is your job description, and there are some rates that are required to know it. But it was, why did I, let's see, it was one more thing.
You
Another language that the Navy has are flags and pennants. So there are some flags that coordinate with letters of the alphabet, and there are other flags that mean other things. So if you ever go to like the Lexington or the Battleship Texas, which are decommissioned Navy ships, you'll see these flags and pennants on there. And if you have, like a code breaker like this, and you can look up what the flags mean, you can see what they're saying. So,
Elijah. Elijah.
I have a question.
does anyone know why we have submarines? Like what their use is? What do you think?
Just to so then they could stealth right into the enemy's lair. Like, what if there was like an Air Force boat with big jets, and then they would swim right towards it, and then use its torpedoes to sink it down. So then many of the Japanese would probably die, and so then they would do that.
What did you want to say, Raya?
They are used for non-detected ambushing.
Yes. Last question.
So they can breathe.
So they can breathe. Okay, so submarines are a silent threat. You're never supposed to know they're there, right? They disappear, right? They're totally silent. They're totally invisible. You can't detect them with radar or sonar. So they hide. Submarines hide because if they're not moving, they're totally quiet, right? And then so the fleet commander or Department of Defense or whatever, they'll communicate with the submarine, tell it to go somewhere. The submarine will stealthily travel over there, and then they'll just wait. And that's why they never have to come to surface, because they're not surface means air, not the water. So if you guys knew, let's see. If you are the President of the United States, right, and you knew that there could be a complement of, 8 nuclear weapon bearing submarines. Of course, not all submarines have nuclear weapons. But if they were off the coast, right, would you be more or less likely to make a bad decision that would hurt the people of your country? Less likely, right? If you knew that some other country was going to interfere and you couldn't protect yourself from them, right, it would maybe influence your decision-making process. And that's kind of what the United States is all about, is influencing other countries. Okay, so I'm gonna move on, and if you guys have questions at the end, I'll answer them. Okay.
Then we'll do you, Roland, Albert, and then
Cool. Bo and I didn't hang on to a lot of our Navy stuff because when we were done with our service, we were done with our service. We were ready to walk away. So we didn't hold on to a lot of stuff, but these jackets are useful and they're kind of small and easy to pack. So I did hang on to these. This is a raincoat that you would wear. I need a volunteer. Spencer. Yes. This is a raincoat that you would wear in boot camp. It's not super warm, but it does keep you mostly dry. It's not waterproof. And then it's got, in the typical Navy fashion, it has buttons. Right. I need another volunteer. Naomi. Excuse me. Ariana. This was one of the jackets I wore on watch after I finished my, I'm not going to talk about it. Anyway, this was one of my jackets that I wore. So this was for a shore duty. This was not what we would wear on a ship or a sub. That's why it's green, right? Penelope? Charlotte, sorry, come over here. This, I can't remember what it's called, but this is a digital camouflage, where this is like more woodland. Thank you. Yeah. This was brand new when I was in the service. I think they don't even wear this anymore because they keep changing things. But this is what they would wear on the submarine or on a ship. It's blue, right? And I think this one still has my husband's patches, or maybe not. Let me see. Nope. I think we took them all off because if you're not in service, you're not supposed to have all your patches and whatnots, unless it's like a thing. I don't. Okay. You want to wear this? All right. All right. Any questions? And you guys can swap if you want, if you have time. They're very lightweight. You don't have a lot of room on a ship or a boat. Boats are submarines. All the other vessels in the Navy are ships. A ship is a seagoing vessel, right? But submarines are called boats because
Good go.
submariners like to set themselves separate from the. Oh, I know what I want to talk about. One second. Literally in the Navy, if there's a job you can think of, you can almost definitely do it in the Navy. If you want to be a firefighter, you can do that in the Navy. As a matter of fact, we do a lot of firefighting training in the Navy because the worst thing to happen when you're at sea is a fire. That we train about fires a lot. You can even be a photographer in the Navy. There is a job description called photographer. If you like paperwork and that's all you want to do and you want to train for an office job, you can be a yeoman. There's anything, you could be a cook. You can be, like, if you want to do police work or detective work when you get out of the service,
Can you
NCIS.
be a master at arms. What?
Can you pilot drones?
You can't, I don't know if the Navy has drones, but they do have pilots. They probably have drones, I don't know. I wasn't attached with that, yes.
Is the Marine from the Marines?
I don't talk about Marines. The Navy gives Marines a ride to where they're going.
So like, I mean, like,
And we
submarine
make sure that
has
nuclear
Marine
accidents
in
don't
its
happen.
Name.
What?
Marine. It has Marine and submarine.
Marine? Huh. Okay, so maritime, like, right? That means like ocean, right? So a submariner means under the ocean. So Marines are a little different. I'll let Albert address that, but yeah. Does anyone have any questions for me? I have some books y'all can look through. They're kind of entertaining, but not really if you don't know.
And they'll be around after too.
Of course, anytime, but you don't have to look them during. Okay, remove your jackets, and after class, if there's time, you know, you got the rest of you can try on jackets if you want to.
Okay, so good job. Everyone give Miss Kim a round of applause and say thank you. Okay, so that was a little inside glimpse of the Navy and the subs, and of course she'll be here after if you guys want to continue talking. Albert is now going to represent and talk about the Marine Corps. So you want to come on up? And then remember, he's got a list to go through, so we'll wait for comments, questions at the end for both of them, so he can make sure to get through all the items that he wants to cover with you guys, okay?
Good morning. How is everybody today?
Good.
Wonderful. That was quite enjoyable. I like that. I'd like to touch a few points on what Miss Kim talked about. Mainly is, okay, so the Marines are technically not a branch of the service, right? Everybody's just like, what are you talking about? We are in fact a department of the Navy. We are considered a branch of service because of how long we've been around and what the stuff we do, but we are technically a department of the Navy. An inside joke is that we're the men's department, but I won't tell you that, guys. Anyways, the reason for this is because Marines have a very special mission. Does anybody know what the Marines' mission is?
To fight the Japanese.
No. It's not to fight the Japanese, it's to fight lots of people. Basically, it works like this. As a branch of service, right, the Navy, the Army, and now the Air Force, if the president wants to send one of those branches into a country for whatever reason, he must declare war. He must tell that country, we're going to wage war on you. And then he can send them in. But he doesn't have to do that when he sends in the Marines. Does that make sense?
Right.
So, every branch of service has a special mission. The Marine Corps is that we go in first. Because he doesn't have to declare war. He goes in, we secure places like what you guys are going to learn about with, talking about World War II and Iwo Jima and stuff. We go in, we secure an area. The Navy, once war has been declared, will come in, the Army will come in, set up like command headquarters, and then the Navy will sit out kind of on the water and give opportunity for aircraft to go in and out. Also, they can shoot big bombs. You'll see some of those in some of the movies that you're going to watch on Friday, and kind of annihilate land areas. So, Navy will do that sometimes first, hit them with the big guns, and then the Marines will go in afterwards and kind of clean up shop and get ready for the Army to come in and set up. First thing I'd like to say is that Marines are not brainwashed. You're going to hear that from other people, and it's just simply not true. What it is that we're proud of who we are and our heritage. We've been around. Who can guess when the Marine Corps was invented?
19.
Nope.
2001.
Nope.
19.
Nope.
20.
Nope. Anybody?
18.
1775.
I was thinking 1700.
1775 is where the Marine Corps first got started.
That's
When was America started? 1776. We were invented in the Revolutionary War.
Oh.
Booyah shakaka.
Where at?
Wait, which one?
In Philadelphia.
Where at in Philadelphia?
In a place that doesn't exist anymore. The building doesn't stand anymore. So, anyways, we've been around for a long time. I look pretty good for being over 200 years old, right?
No.
Right?
Yes. You should be fine.
Anyways, so we're very proud of our history because we've been around a long time and we've been a part of every major war that our country has had since it became a country in 1776. All right? And as Miss Kim talked about in the very beginning, the Navy does give us rights, okay? So we can get over and they can, get us into areas that we couldn't get ourselves because of the boats. And what covers the majority of the earth?
Water.
Water, right? And the Navy has all that area to go wherever they want to go. Okay? So, she talked about boot camp. My boot camp is a little bit different. Can anybody guess how long my boot camp was?
A long time. 30 years.
30 years. I would not do it if it was 30 years long.
10 years.
No years. It's only...
Tell them how long the Air Force goes.
The Air Force goes for 8 weeks. It's kind of like summer camp. Yes.
3 months.
3 months. Exactly.
That's what I was thinking.
13.
I was gonna say.
Actually,
I was actually 16.
it's 13 weeks, so it's right at 3 months. So 13 weeks long. We did a lot of drill, marching. We did a lot of knowledge work, learning. See, in the Marine Corps, because we're a Department of the Navy, I had to learn every single rank in the Marine Corps and every single rank in the Navy. I had to learn everything. We had to learn how to,
Be awesome.
I am awesome, but thank you. We had to learn how to take apart weapons, do PT, do lots of things. My life in the Marine Corps involved a lot of the Navy life. Like, for example, because I was a jet engine mechanic, I was on an aircraft carrier. And so I've done all my deployments were on aircraft carriers. And so I got to live the Navy life for 6 months at a time. So I got a lot of respect for that aspect of it. Now, Ms. Kim also talked about an ASFAB. What's that? Does anybody know what an ASFAB is? Do you remember what she was talking about when she spoke of the ASFAB? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with the word rate. What was a rate?
Rate.
No. What was a rate?
Mate.
What'd she say a rate was?
A game.
Rank. Rate.
No. Your job.
Oh,
Golly. Obviously, people didn't listen.
I was listening.
Your rating, right? Your rate, right? Your job. So an ASVAB is basically a test that you go and they say, oh, you scored really high in this area. We're going to put you in this kind of a job. Like for me, I scored really high in mechanics. So they were like, we're going to trust you to work on $30 million aircraft. And so that's how I was chosen to be an aircraft mechanic. So, and you know, using that, well, I worked on F-18s. I can show you some of the stuff later. Now, so I guess you want to more focus on World War II's, and we have a nickname that was given to us by Maddie's ancestors, actually. We're called Teufelhunden. Does anybody know what that means? Anybody?
Maddie's, you say it the right way.
Yeah,
How do
I'm
you say
white
Maddie?
boy, so
Teufelhunden.
Teufelhunden?
Teufelhunden.
Devil dog?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Teufelshund.
See?
Teufelston.
There you go, right there. I don't know what I'm saying.
Teufelston.
Teufelskind.
It means devil dog. And the reason why we were given that nickname is because we wouldn't
I
stop.
want to hear Maddie say it one more time.
Teufelshund.
Teufelskind.
See, there you go. I am 100%
German.
redneck and white.
German.
But, anyways, and that was given to us when we were fighting the Germans, because when they thought they had gotten us, we'd keep coming. And like they thought they got us all, and then we kept coming.
Roll then.
And it was very,
Get
very
down. No question.
disturbing to them, and they said it was like
You wait.
devil dogs, and so that name kind of
What a
stuck with
devil
us.
dog.
Anyways, so again, who remembers what I said the mission of the Marine Corps is?
They
You answer everything.
To go first?
To go first, right? To go in, to take an area that the president or whoever's in charge, maybe a general at the time who has that authority, says, hey, we want this area, send in the Marines. And we'll go in and we'll fight and we'll fight and we'll fight. Now, you guys are learning about Iwo Jima, right? Does anybody know how long Iwo Jima took before we were able to raise the flag?
4 days?
4 days. 4 days of intense fighting. And days, we don't take the nights off. It's not like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, it's quitting time. Let's stop shooting at each other. Let's stop war. It's not like that. And once the engage happens, it doesn't stop until there's a victory involved. So it was 4 days and 4 nights of fighting, 4 24-hour periods before we could even get to the